Hello, welcome to the Citrus Garden. If you're new here, my name is Christina. If you're not new here, hi, welcome back. It's great to see you. This is a reading for Leo rising, or if you have significant Leo placements in your chart and are needing a neutral energy to harmonize masculine and feminine energies within yourself, then this reading is for you. So Leo, just for the overall context of your reading, I'm getting a lot of just like downloads about what the overall context is. So the first thing I was getting was this song called Butchered Tongue by Hosier, which I will put in the description box if you're interested in listening to it. So there's a lot of energy here around sort of like language, or like learning a new language is kind of how it was coming through. Like there's I'm just getting sort of like this feeling of being in a place where you don't speak the language, right? Like in a foreign country. And so there's this kind of energy of like isolation or feeling separate from an energy that you consider home, like could be like homesickness or something like that. But also sort of the added discomfort of having to learn something new, where it's kind of like you're starting from the beginning of something, where it's like, because I'm getting sort of this energy of like syllables, right? Not even words, just syllables, or the sounds that each letter makes, right? Like in the alphabet, like it's almost like starting from the alphabet again, where there's like specific sounds that are different or perhaps challenging that's coming through here. Like it's like very much associated with like the tongue for some reason, or like the mouth, because there's this one line in that song that talks about like the unemployment of the mouth, where it's kind of like this feeling of like loneliness, where no one speaks your language or no one understands what you're speaking, or it's that kind of vibe. So that's the overall context of your reading, Leo, which is a really tough energy to be in. So let's get started with your reading here. We have here the riddle and the orphan, which in itself, very challenging energies, which is talking to me about like, this riddle card is talking to me about like a problem that you're having to solve, but that you're not seeing the answer or the way out of it. And it's coming through with this energy of the orphan, of like the question that was coming through. It's like, what are you starving for? There's something that you need, but that you're not getting in this situation here with the riddle. And it was coming through with this energy of like, because of the tarot cards that are coming out to support this, we have the Five of Cups, the Death card, and the Wheel. So the Five of Cups, to me, this card specifically talks about like grief or loss or sadness or overwhelm of some sort, right? Like feeling lost, perhaps within this riddle or this problem that you can't solve. And with the next cards coming out here, you have the Death card and the Wheel, which is like this transition. I'll come back to this Death card. It's kind of coming through this energy of like mystery, or not being able to see your way out of a situation. And the Wheel card, which to me is talking about like, I feel like the wheel is not turning, is kind of how it's feeling for you, Leo, where it's like there's this energy of like repeating a cycle is kind of how it's coming through to me today, where it's like repeating a cycle, where it's like the cycle is not ending, and it's like you're having to repeat something over and over again to try and find the solution. Is that's how I'm seeing this combination of cards. And it was coming through with this card, the Air, from this deck, which says unseen potential and hesitation, but it came out specifically sideways. And so I'm doing this because there's this energy of like having like a really heavy burden with this crown here, it's like there's something like weighing really heavy on your crown, where it's like perhaps it's this energy of like not, but it's kind of coming through with this, right? Not seeing a way out of a riddle kind of energy, because it's like it kind of feels like, to me, there's kind of like this energy here, like I keep doing this because it's like it feels like whatever this thing is that you're not seeing, it's really burdensome or heavy, and it's kind of like you're wanting to avoid it. That's how I'm seeing it with this weight, like this weight of a burden being placed on your head, and it's so heavy that it's like causing strain in your neck is kind of how it's feeling to me, Leo, right? Like this is kind of like you're trying to like avoid this crown is kind of how it's feeling. That's part of this sort of cycle, or like the repeating energy that's coming through. Because I'm seeing it's coming through like with this energy here. Sorry for like laughing. It's just like my neck has been bothering me, but it's kind of like this like energy here of like straining, or with the wheel here, like almost like trying to contort yourself into like different positions to try and avoid this responsibility is kind of how it's coming through, because there's something here about like with the air, right? And the orphan, it's like there's something about like it's something that I feel like in the past with the orphan card, because this comes from a wounded child energy, where it's like there's something that you perhaps missed out on. That's been a theme in the readings recently too, where it's like the like again with the language, perhaps you are trying to learn a language, but it's like it's a lot of work is kind of how it's feeling. Anyways, so that's what I feel like, though, is interesting, because I actually feel like you, Leo, are on the threshold of solving this problem is kind of how it's coming through, because the next card out you have here is the Mask, which talks about putting on a different identity in order to explore or give voice to a different aspect of self, because this card talks about like expressing a part of yourself that has not been expressed before with the Orphan. And it's interesting because it's coming out with these two cards underneath it, which says the Runaway and the Walker, which is fascinating to me because I was getting all this energy here as well with like sort of like the legs or being grounded in something, because I feel like this is part of the cycle that you've been in, is kind of like this energy of like the Runaway, which says secrets and running from the problems, right? Like avoiding responsibility of something. And the Walker, which says the unknown and a journey. And it's kind of coming through with this energy of like, you have to learn how to walk before you run. Because I feel like there's something about here that there's a discomfort about how slow something is going, or like being forced to take things slow when it's like I feel like in the past there's been some sort of energy of like moving really quickly through challenge, or because it's coming through like this, where it's like the Two of Materials. The Two of Materials is where I feel like you are at the moment, right? Where it's kind of like there's this feeling of like building something or learning how to juggle, or like this is the new language that you're learning, and it feels kind of like uncomfortable because there's so much new that's happening, and it's like you have to sit still and learn how to do it is kind of how it's feeling to me. But I feel like what you're used to, this is sort of how I'm seeing like the riddle or the problem that you're trying to solve, is that what you're used to is the Knight of Inspiration and the Eight of Swords. So this Eight of Swords is feeling to me like a feeling of being trapped right? With this sort of runaway cage, right? So I want to say that you are not trapped. That's part of the tricky message with the Eight of Swords is always like this energy of like, take the blindfold off, right? Like, and I don't like that phrase, because to me it places a lot of blame on the person, right? Like, it's like your problems are your problems because of your own blindedness, right? Like that kind of energy, which I don't like, because it's kind of like, anyways, doesn't matter. What I'm seeing with this though is that I feel like there was a situation in the past that felt like you were in a cage of some sort, or feeling trapped by something, or feeling limited, or whatever, like constrained in some way. And I feel like there was a situation where you actually got free of that situation through this sort of night of inspiration by running, metaphorically, like more of like this sort of explosive, energetic, fiery, fireworks kind of momentum forward, and that worked for you, is kind of how it's feeling. But now I feel like you are actually in this place here with the Two of Pentacles of like, you're building something, or that's the intention anyway. You're trying to build something, and in order to build something, you actually have to stay still. But what might be sort of confusing is this energy of like, if you look at the position of these two people, it looks the same, right? It looks like she's stuck in a cage, or it looks like she's unable to move or whatever. But a different way of framing that is like, she's actually building something, is kind of how it's feeling. Like you are actually building something, Leo. There's no cage around you, but because the energy of the situation requires you to stay still, it feels like a cage, is kind of how it's coming through here. And so like, this energy might be something that you're missing, because it's kind of like it's like you're missing some aspect of this night of inspiration where it's like things are moving slowly. And so it's like, okay, if something's moving slowly, then I have to introduce some sort of like fiery energy, passion, excitement into the situation to get it moving. But I feel like that's what's getting you stuck in a cycle, because that's not what's needed here. If you introduce something that's very fiery and passionate, perhaps, it's going to knock this thing that you've been building off balance, if that makes sense, right? So it's like you're using a solution to a problem that you've had in the past, which is this Eight of Swords of like getting out of the cage, where it's like the problem now is not that you're in a cage. The problem is now that you have to stay still and build something, and that requires a different solution. It's and that might be sort of the energy of like, okay, you're in this sort of walker energy now, like taking things slowly. And that's the discomfort, right? It's like there's a discomfort of like having to be patient, or having to like slow your pace in some area of like whatever it is that you're building. And it's like you may be in this place here with the Eight of Voices, because that came out next, where you may be actually looking back at the past of when you were in this energy and seeing how your situation is different now. So it's not like, in the past, this energy might have been beneficial to you to break out of that energy, but that's not where you are now. You're not in the Eight of Swords. You're in the Two of Pentacles, totally different situation, which requires a different solution to your problem. It's not the Night of Inspiration. That's not going to help you here. And so the next cards to come out, you have here the Empty Room, which talks about this feeling of, this is sort of like the feeling of like having to learn the new language, right? There's some sort of void space around you, because it's not a cage. It's not a cage. It's actually like this sort of like feeling of, there's like, you're creating something, you're building something, and that means that in the meantime, there's nothing around you, because it's almost like, especially if you've been feeling like there are things in your life that are leaving or that are being cleared out, or being like, it's kind of like this feeling of isolation, or perhaps even loneliness, right? There's something about like you're here in this empty room being almost like forced to stay still because you're trying to build something. It's like the universe has been clearing out space for you to build, is kind of how it's feeling, like laying out foundation for you. But in the meantime, like how that takes place is over time, and it's like there's been sort of this void space around you, is kind of how I'm seeing it, where there hasn't been anything, or there hasn't been anything new. But that's because it's like it's been carving out space for whatever it is you're building, because whatever it is you're building requires a lot of space, is kind of how that's feeling to me. Because the cards that are coming out next, you have here the Muse of Voices. So this always talks to me about like some sort of mental challenge, like reframing something, is kind of how it's feeling to me. And the reframing is happening through this, where you have the Magician and the Five of Pentacles. But so the Five of Pentacles, which talks about like a feeling of being separated or isolated, or feeling lost, or like having low resources or whatever, it actually came out in reverse. So I feel like this is the thing that's changing, right? It's like it feels like a Five of Pentacles where you are in right now, this sort of empty room energy, but it's actually the Magician, which is talking to me about like you're in this empty room space, this void, because whatever it is that you're bringing in, or whatever it is that you're building, requires a lot of space for you to build in order to bring it in, right? It requires all of this space. It requires all of this like emptiness, because you can't fill something that like is already filled, right? The universe can't bring you anything new if it's filled with everything already. So it's kind of like you had to lose all of this, whatever this Five of Pentacles is for you, in order to bring in this really expansive energy. Because it's like this, whatever it is that you're building or calling in or manifesting, is going to take up a lot of space. Okay, and so the last two cards I'm seeing here, you have here the Ten of Inspiration and the Chariot. So this to me is also emphasizing this energy of like reframing, because it feels like with the Ten of Inspiration, almost like a burden, right? It's like burdensome. That whatever this thing is that you're being asked to take on, it feels like that. Versus the Chariot, which is actually kind of like you may be feeling weighed down by something, because that's part of the foundation. You need to have a very strong base in order to build whatever it is that you're building. It requires a lot of space and a very, very strong foundation. So it's like that's what you've been building, a strong foundation. And it's kind of like this energy of reframing, because in this Ten of Inspiration, she's looking down, right? And so a metaphor that was coming through here, it's like I have this like really beautiful tree plant in my room that's like it's been losing a lot of leaves recently, which is what I'm seeing here, right? And that always is kind of worrying when your plant starts to lose a lot of leaves. So that's how I'm seeing this energy here, where it's like if you look down, if your position is looking down at all the leaves that are being lost, that can be worrying. But if you think of it as the Chariot, if you actually look at where the leaves have fallen from, there's so much new growth happening. So it's like you may be, Leo, in this place of like losing a lot of things or losing a lot of whatever it is that you're losing, and wondering why that's happening, or feeling like it's like a riddle, like I can't solve this problem. It's just losing, whatever that is for you. But how I'm seeing it is actually that the universe is clearing a whole bunch of space, because what it is that you're building requires a lot of space. And so it's like, be patient. The answer is coming. I feel like it's just like you need to sit in this empty room and stop trying to fill it with things, because the more you try and fill the void, the more it gets cleared out. So I'm going to leave it there, Leo. I hope that helped. If this resonated with you, please like, subscribe, or leave a comment down below. It helps so much. Thank you for sharing your energy with me, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.